Yes guys, what is up? Welcome to Supercars of London. Hope you're having an awesome day and you join me underneath this wonderful blue sky, standing in front of a very nicely spec'd McLaren 570 GT. Now this is probably the best McLaren that you would want to do a long distance drive in. It's got the comfy seats, it's got a panoramic roof, it's got loads of luggage space, but McLaren have launched a new car. They've launched the McLaren GT, which you've probably seen content on, you've definitely seen photos of, but the reason why I'm a little bit flustered, a little bit rushed, is because I've just come down to McLaren Hatfield because I got an email this morning to say that 2 of these brand new 2019 McLaren GTs have just arrived for a launch event this evening. I can't attend the launch event, but I can get a sneak preview and a little bit of an exclusive to show you 2 different specs on the new McLaren GT. I'm going to give you my first impressions of seeing it for the first time. That is probably my favourite variant of McLaren and one of the most realistic ones that I would ever own. So the McLaren GT is tickling my fancy a little bit. So I'm going to give you everything that I like and dislike about my first impressions of seeing this brand new McLaren. Now I'm going to start in this beautiful customer area because for the first time I'm showing you guys the McLaren Hatfield showroom as a police car comes past and ruins all of my audio. But the reason why I want to start here is because I want to walk past the 720S, I want to walk past the 600 LT to give you an idea of what our eyes and brains are used to with the McLaren design language. We're used to seeing 720Ss, we're used to seeing the Sport Series here, and then when you feast your eyes on this new McLaren GT for the first time, I have to say, it feels like it's the future. It feels a futuristic design. Everything about it is clean, it's smooth, and it's classy. And to see it in this spec, this was like the ultimate launch spec, but we've also got a very, very quintessentially British spec. Would you say that almost looks a US spec with the yellow indicators on the side in comparison to this one here? But the front end is so smooth, you can tell that it's been designed in a wind tunnel. Now when I arrived, both cars were undercover because for the next 5 hours, McLaren Hatfield have invited their customers and prospects to come and have a look at the car, and apparently they've already taken a bunch of orders, some of them speccing cars as much as £230,000, which when this car starts out at £165,000, that's quite a lot of optional extras. But let's take a look around this car because I do like the colour and the spec on it. The bonnet here is really aggressive and you can feel the air pushing all the way through the car. Coming down here, I would not want to put a front number plate on this front end because it is incredibly smooth and sleek. Working our way around the whole car, we've got these really, really smart diamond cut wheels. This car is all about comfort and luxury over long distances. So the interior you can see is full leather, a whole load of space back there, which I will show you. I'll open up the tailgate there, and then from a center console point of view, that whole design there is new, but then everything else is quite familiar from a McLaren car. Now working my way round to the back of the car, this is where we got teased before this car was launched. We got an angle of this car on the road looking a little bit like this, and the first thing, my first impression was actually this grille back here where the tail lights sit is very Lamborghini. It reminds me of the Huracan, but then obviously with the exhaust exits down here, it kind of takes everything away from what we know as the Lamborghini Huracan. But here we've got the glass, the whole sort of side profile, shoulders back here really is the sleek McLaren GT look that I love so much with the 570 GT. And how cool is this? We've got 2 next to each other with some of the best McLaren products right here. We've got the 570 GT here actually, so that we get to see the difference between this is what I love about the 570 GT, the glass and these shoulders coming out. It's just a much cleaner look than the 570S. And then over on the McLaren GT here, it's just even cleaner. I would 100% order one of these. This would be the McLaren that I buy. That is not far off the spec that I would have, but now with the new GT out, I would probably take a spec like that, a really monochrome dark grey with the yellow brake calipers, and put it on a McLaren GT. 612 brake horsepower, 0 to 60 in 3.2 seconds, 0 to 124 miles an hour in 9 seconds at a top speed of 203 miles an hour. Of course, it is a McLaren, it is incredibly fast and no doubt drives impeccably. I cannot wait to get behind the wheel of this car. It rivals the Bentley Continental GT and also the Aston Martin DB11, and when I speak to supercar owners or luxury car owners or even just people in the automotive world, a lot of people question why this doesn't have rear seats, why it's not a 2+2 like the DB11 or the Bentley Continental GT. And then I think all of those cars that I've seen on the road, how many Bentley Continental GTs have I seen on the road? How many DB11s have I seen on the road that don't utilize the rear space? Most of them don't even have a passenger, because 99% of those journeys done in those cars is by the owner to and from work, to and from a location, friends, pub, whatever it is. It is so rare. And I know that it's a luxury to have the option of putting people in the back of the car, but would you want to sit in the back of a Bentley Continental GT or a DB11? Absolutely not. So McLaren probably calibrated that information, probably did a whole bunch of market research, and were like, do you know what? No, we don't need rear seats because it's silly. Now in this shot we've got a 600 LT, because that is definitely the talking point when we come to talk about the engine mounts that are attached to the chassis on this car, and the way that McLaren are able to create that GT, that Grand Tour effect, is they have reduced the stiffness of the engine mounts by 50% in this car over the 600 LT, meaning that there is a reduction in noise and vibration when you're driving this, meaning that when you're cruising along the tarmac, it will feel much more like you're driving on felt or on a cloud or very, very soft surface, whereas on the 600 LT, that car is designed specifically for you to feel everything so that you can handle the track as best as possible. So that is probably as far away of a driving experience to the McLaren GT. Other things that McLaren have fiddled with for the McLaren GT, they've fiddled with the steering and the brakes. They've recalibrated them so that it is much easier to cruise around town at low speeds. And also the ground clearance that I talked about earlier is actually 11 centimeters. It is 11 centimeters off the road and still has nose lift that raises it an additional 2 centimeters, meaning that you have normal road car ground clearance in a car that looks as good as that, which is the ideal of practicality. And when you're driving a car like this through London, you want the steering, you want the brakes recalibrated so that you can maneuver this car at ease at low speeds, because it is a long car, it is an expensive car, it is a big car, and you want to feel comfortable driving this car every single day. And that is exactly what McLaren have done. Combine that with the engine mounts and everything else that McLaren have done, and you have yourself a smooth, silky, easy car to drive at low speeds that will get over any speed bump that you come across. Now, taking all of those elements that McLaren have done to enable a comfy experience driving this car, if you compare the weight of this as opposed to the Aston Martin DB11 V8, which already has the lightweight engine in it, this is 200 kilograms lighter than the DB11. And as a driving experience, the DB11 is probably one of my favorite cars to drive. I am all about the long distance, the motorway miles. That Lotus sounds good. And that surely is it's going to be way better than that, but that is going to be one of the ultimate cars to drive down to somewhere like the south of France. But then you can take it on the mountain roads and keep up with all of the other cars here. 200 kilograms lighter than the V8 DB11 means that it is going to be an incredibly nimble machine as well as a comfy cruiser. In summary, McLaren have created an obtainable, a much more realistic Speedtail variant. Here you have a bullet that will be able to cover over 500 miles in a day with complete comfort and ease. There are so many luxuries inside the car, like upgraded sound systems. I don't think it is going to be as good as the ultimate Bentley Continental GT sound system. That is still hands down the best sound system I've ever heard in a car. But I mean, I've not driven one, I've not heard this sound system, so I don't know. But to have two cars down here at McLaren Hatfield, and for me to just have a quick sneak peek before customers come and check the cars out. But what is so exciting is where McLaren are going with their design language, but also where they're going with their thinking. Yes, it is a little bit confusing, but I've had time to digest all of the information. I've had the time to digest the differences between the 570 GT and this, and I think it is all going to make sense very soon when McLaren start launching more cars within the Sports Series range, so that we get to see the differences in the variations. But I'm going to leave it here. This has been a wicked whirlwind trip to come down. It's only 15 minutes away from where I live, so once I got the email I was like, I'm 100% coming down to check these cars out. And I have to say, seeing this in the flesh. I love that light color because you get to see all of the designs, but also it looks super sleek in this dark color here. So I don't know whether I would go for like a white or an off-white like that 600 LT over there. I think that would look really, really smart on that. I love the white seats. The white seats do it for me every single time. So I don't know whether I'd black it out and then have white seats inside like my BMW M3, but definitely, out of all of the McLarens that I've seen and driven, once I drive this car, I know that I'm going to be sold on it. But this is 100% the McLaren that I would buy if I could, if I had the money, if I didn't have the Lamborghini. That is what I would order. And yes, I was sticking exhaust on it because it's got the 4 litre from the 720S that's just slightly detuned, 612 brake horsepower with 0 to 60 of 3.2 seconds. Doesn't sound detuned to me. But ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching. Head into the link in the description so that you can check these guys out, because what an amazing showroom this is. And I'm definitely going to be spending more time down here driving cars. I'd love to drive that 600 LT Coupe. I'd love to buy it. I'd love to own all of these cars. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, tick that notification bell, and I will see you soon. Take care. Goodbye.